Right, okay, I'll make a start. Lovely to see you all. So we start a new month and a new project. So this month's project is going to be, I thought we're going to have a look at painting trees and foliage, and in particular today, mixing greens or using greens. So I thought I'll concentrate on the mixing bit today. Also, just to let you know that I've decided that we kind of got plenty of people in this class now, so I'm going to call it a day. I think apart from, I think I might have one or two students coming in March who bought vouchers before Christmas or had vouchers bought for them. So apart from them, this will be it. I have got a new class starting in Lee on the 22nd on Thursday afternoon. So if anybody ever wanted to swap round at all, or if you couldn't make this week and wanted to go to another week or something like that, that'll be 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock. Yeah. So that's an option for you all if anybody wants that. So I think I've got about 10 people who said they'll come along. Whether they actually will turn up, I don't know. But that's another option for you. Right, so today I thought I'd talk a little bit about painting foliage, mixing, and particularly on the mixing greens. And I brought a couple of pictures in to show you. This one I was working on yesterday at Mersey Island. So with this one, it was obviously it was a very dull day, and it was actually a really dull day when I started it. So they're really quite dark, kind of grungy greens, and this was it's that kind of sea marshy sort of thing. It's those sort of grey greens. So that's that one. I thought I'd show you that one. And then there's a couple of others. Let's do that. This one, I started this as a demonstration for Southend Art Club a couple of years ago, and so I did a lot of this in the demo, and then I've worked this up with a few details afterwards. This one I brought along because I quite like this kind of lighting effect. So obviously if you paint trees look totally different depending on the lighting. This is sort of like the lighting is behind the tree and you get this lovely glow, these lovely backlit leaves, which really appeals to me, and then you get these little highlights on here. The other thing I've done with this one is I've used quite transparently greens in places, like down here, you can see a little bit of the board colour showing through, and I quite like that. So I'll talk a little bit about mixing transparent greens. Obviously you do that a lot in watercolour, but you can do that in oils and acrylics as well if you want to. And there's probably a little bit of transparency in some of these too. So that's that one. This other one is pretty similar sort of lighting in a way. This was Green Park in London. I did a lot of this on site, and then I've worked this up a little bit from a couple of photos. And I think it probably needs a bit more in the foreground. I didn't have very good references, so I'll have to take a painting back to do that. And then this other one is another demo piece that I did. This was a British in Ludlow, so I worked from one of my photographs. And I brought this one because it's different sort of lighting. So whereas the other two, the lighting is behind the trees, on this one, the lighting is kind of hitting the trees. So in these ones, you've got these really dark shadows, which are probably a little bit too dark in reality, probably I've overdone it there. But these bits, I'll probably mix some white with the greens because you've got the light kind of bouncing off the leaves. So again, when I actually do some demonstrating, painting trees, number week I'll do a bit of that, but that is, it's a different sort of lighting effect. So just thought I'd show you that. So in like last month's project, I talked about mixing greens out, blue and yellow. And I was suggesting you use 2 yellows and 2 blues. So if you've got a greeny yellow, like a lemon yellow, which is this one here, and then this one is a cadmium yellow that's slightly more orangey. So I'd say they're the best two to start with. And then if you've got 2 blues, like this blue is a greeny blue, a cerulean. That one I think is Prussian blue or phthalo blue, that's also a greeny blue. And then this one is a purpley blue. So if you've got those 4, they're a great place to start, and I'd suggest if you're mixing colours there, have those on your palette. But I also use, from time to time, I've experimented with ready-made greens, and I also use other yellows. This one is called Indian yellow, and that's quite transparent yellow, so that's nice if you want transparent effects. I'll just demonstrate a little bit here. This one's raw sienna, and this is quite a sort of earthy kind of yellow. And again, that's quite useful if you don't want a very vibrant green. But we'll start with the others. The other thing I thought is it's quite nice to make a colour, if you wanted to mix greens out of two colours, this is a great way of setting out a colour chart, because you get all the different kind of variations from yellow, in this case from lemon yellow, and I've actually used black for this one. So a lot of times I've suggested you don't use black, but that does make a green and make a kind of earthy, you know, dull green, the sort of greens you got down there maybe, using black. So that's quite nice. You know, it could be any yellow, any blue here, and then just make all the transitions. When it comes to ready-made greens, one of the ones I've got here is, actually I've got two versions, and actually these are both sap green. So, and as I say, sap green is quite a transparent green. So, you know, if you've got a big blob of it, it'll look like that, but it will spread out like that. So you can, you know, keep that quite transparent if you want. And if I use some of this Indian yellow with it, it will probably get even more, in that tiny bit, a little bit bigger. You know, that should stay fairly transparent, but a little bit yellower. But sap green is one of those colours that comes out of the tube, and it's basically the manufacturers put a few different colours all together and call it sap green. So that one's sap green, that one's sap green, and that one's sap green, and all three of them, you know, they're different manufacturers, so you get a completely different look. So if you're going to buy different colours, I'll just put some of these out here. So that's, you know, that's one version. Do this on the other side of the brush. That's another version, and then this is the one I like, the Winsor & Newton one, which to me is more of a yellowy, transparent green. So I quite like the quality of that. But when I bought, well, one of these I bought, and a couple of these people gave me, but they just look like nothing in particular to me. That's not how I think of sap green. So that's that one. The other one that's this one is phthalo green, and this is, you've got phthalo green. It's an incredibly powerful, very bluey green. So this is often in sets of colours if you buy sets of colours. But on its own, you're not really going to see that in nature. So you're going to, if you've got that colour, you would need to modify it to make it look naturalistic. Unless you want to paint, you know, very bright and breezy paintings. It'd also be great for like Sue's top. You know, add a bit of white to that, and then you've got that nice sort of, you know, emeraldy phthalo green, which would be looking a bit like that. Yeah, so it does come in handy, you know, tarpaulin, you know, nice bright greens, you know, that can be quite useful, but it's not a naturalistic green.
Would you use it doing water, sea, you know, the sea sort of colours sometimes?
I mean, not when it's, I personally wouldn't on its own.
Not even for that, no?
No. But then I quite like sort of fairly naturalistic colours. I mean, some people paint in very heightened, saturated, exaggerated colours. And, you know, that's absolutely fine to do. And in which case you might use that. It just depends on your tastes and where you want to go with it, really. But yeah, but just sort of be aware that if you're trying to go for a naturalistic scene, don't stick that straight in there, really. Let's pick another brush because they're getting dirty.
Yeah. Sorry, and you said you experimented with the ready mix colours a bit.
Yeah.
Have you stuck with them, or because you can mix that sap green pretty easily?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, actually, but that's why I like things like this Indian yellow, and I've actually got better ones than this. This is the student quality one. The artist quality one is a lot more expensive, but it's a nicer colour, really. But that makes a colour. Should be able to mix something fairly similar. Let's try. Yeah, I think that's not too different, really.
So would it purely be convenience if you were going to be painting a lot of green, or wouldn't you bother? Anyway, would you mix it up?
I find that I just tend to mix greens now. I don't, quite often I maybe have a little tube in my paint box, but it very, very rarely comes out. Yeah. The time when I might use it, say something like a phthalo green, would be like these shadowy, the shadowy area sort of like under here, where it's very, very dark. And I'll probably just mix that with some brown then. Where'd the brown go? Yeah, so this is a sort of reddy brown. And I can mix something almost like black very quickly. So sort of like for shadows under here, you know, something like that might be a good place to start to get those sort of really deep. Actually, if I make that a little bit transparent, that's quite nice. You know, for deep sort of shadowy areas. But it's, yeah, useful probably with as a mixing green, because it is a very powerful. Tell you what, you wouldn't be able, you'd be hard pushed to mix anything quite as powerful as that from the reds and yellows, the blues and yellows. So it's useful in that respect. What else can I say? Yeah, what I was thinking was another good exercise, if you wanted to have a go at a kind of mixing and matching exercise, is say, I picked this photo out because it is quite a range of greens. You've got very bright ones here, and then they'll probably a little bit softer back here. And then it's almost going into autumn, and then coming back here, these trees will be green trees, but they, you know, it almost looks like grey there, maybe a hint of green there. So you've got that, what they call atmospheric perspective, they call that, where the saturation of the colour saturation drops out, and colours get progressively greyer. Because we're seeing these trees through the atmosphere, and there'll be dust and things like that reflecting off, perhaps blue light. So that's something to look at. So if so I was going to mix something like this, basically I could make a green and just grey it down. So the way to, so if I make a green out of, I'll just do a really bright one to start with. So that's move that out of the way. So just mix that up. The way to desaturate the green is to use the colour opposite on the colour wheel. So you've got yellow, red, blue. So yeah, so green would be here. So what would be opposite? I should have a colour wheel there. Just got to imagine the colour wheel. What would be opposite would be red, basically. So if you add some red to that, that will start to grey that down. And I quite like the crimson. I find the crimson works quite well. So again, that's immediately made that greyer. So if you want to give a sense of space in your painting, say you want the green field here to look a bit bright and the green back there, just a tiny bit of red with it here. And then as you go further back, more red. So that's that one. That's a little bit dark at the moment, so I'll add some more light to it as well. And then that starts to look greyer. Might not be quite as grey as that. No, that's still a bit light. So let's go lighter still. I think just a tiny bit more red. Let's try a bit more red. Yeah. So that makes it grey. That's probably not too far up that. I've got a little bit totally too dark rather. Yeah, something like that. Getting fairly similar to the colours back there, and then as you're progressively coming forward, you know, have more red and yellow, red and blue in the mix. Does that all make sense? Yeah. Good to go. Anyone else anything?
It's just I've never thought to mix red and blue.
Really? Yeah. It's something I quite do. I mean, things like this, you know, if you're painting like an olive tree, when we were in Italy, when we were painting, you know, out in Italy, there was lots of olive stain, and you know that I would have been adding red into the greens then to get those sort of dusty kind of olivey greens.
So you're going to complementary colour to neutralise.
Yes, that's it. Yeah,
and add white to make it
just make it totally light. Yeah.